What if Deku had the Kaioken technique as well as One For All? First thing I want to preface is I'm going to make it to where he can actually use the technique. I'm not going to go with how it is in canon, where you basically had to be a planet buster to even use ×2. I'm still going to keep the relative strain based on its level comparable to how Goku had to go through it. Only difference is the amount of power you need, first off, to actually use the technique. And I'm going to start off by this. The first couple seasons, he's not going to be able to simultaneously use both One For All and Kaioken. Using even single-digit percentages of One For All in the early seasons already put an astronomical strain on his body. So you throw in a straight-up linear multiplier that increases the strain on your body exponentially, he'd be lucky if the only damage he took was broken bones. If he tried using Kaioken ×2 or 3 with even 1 or 2% of One For All in the early seasons, his arm would just straight up explode. But by the time that full Kowlin comes into effect, and like the current events of the manga, seeing as he basically gets more control of One For All to the point where the strain becomes minimal or non-existent based on different levels, he'd be able to use the different levels of Kaioken correspondingly with those levels of One For All. And hell, with how effortless he can use One For All at its peak, you throw in the ability to just linearly multiply those stats by ×2, ×3, ×4, ×10, ×20. It doesn't matter how much. He's already a top tier with just One For All. You give him the ability to just outright multiply his max power in a linear fashion, he solos. He solos his verse. It's just going to be a lot more work for him to get to those heights, because both of these techniques and powers are extremely straining. So it's going to require much more work to actually combine the two of them and utilize them together. And I'll say this, if you have like a peak One For All Deku, and then you just add like a Kaioken ×10, he'd be able to take down Shigaraki and All For One simultaneously.